Hey guys, Root24 here. So I spent the last couple days checking out the Blue Protocol closed beta test, which at the time of writing the script will be going on for another day. I've put in around 10 hours, give or take, which was enough to get to the end of the available story quests in the beta, and to take on a couple side quests. So what exactly is Blue Protocol? Blue Protocol is an upcoming MMORPG developed and published by, believe it or not, Bandai Namco. I know Bandai Namco isn't exactly known for MMOs, but I am familiar with a couple of their games, so that did kind of set some expectations going into this. One of the first things that'll probably strike you about the game are the visuals. Simply put, they're gorgeous. The game is obviously going for an anime look, and I think they did a pretty good job of getting that aspect down. The few areas that you get to explore here have a couple interesting features, and the dynamic lighting with a day-night cycle can make areas look really good. The UI is fairly clean, flat, and simple, and I appreciate that. At some point during the beta, you were asked if you wanted to set up your UI to make it look more like an action game, or better laid out to suit live streaming. You can, of course, make some further tweaks to that, if you wish. Speaking of the HUD, actually, one of my favorite things to do is to just turn off the HUD entirely. At any time, you can just push a button to completely hide the UI, and this just lets you admire your surroundings. And if you turn off character names, there's actually no text whatsoever on screen. This, however, also includes damage numbers. So if you happen to get into combat while your UI is off, you are kind of blind. That being said, it really is just a push of a button to bring it back. So if you decide to do combat without any UI, that's just on you. There is not a lot of story that you can experience in the beta, as you only get a handful of story quests before you hit the beta cap. But for major story events, you get these awesome animated cutscenes that really do look good. Some of the cutscenes can actually get a bit long, but I didn't find myself wanting to skip these just because they look so good. The actual story quality remains to be seen, but it's nothing you haven't really seen before in other games. Your character conveniently has amnesia and doesn't remember anything aside from their name. And as you're in the middle of some fairly simple adventuring tasks, your companions realize that something isn't quite right with one of the monsters you're fighting. And by the time you've gotten to the end of the beta story quest, your character realizes that, a chain of events has been put into motion that could put the fate of the world at risk. For the beta, you are able to make a max of 2 characters per account, and the character creation tools are mostly fine. I didn't have any kind of issue with them, and I was able to make a character that I was happy with, but it doesn't have the finer controls that you might find in other games, so if you really like to completely customize every aspect of your character, you might find this a little bit limiting. Like most MMOs, your character is basically a silent protagonist. However, you will actually have a very few number of spoken lines during key moments in certain story cutscenes. It doesn't seem like this will happen very often, but it's still pretty cool to see and hear when it does. At the moment, there are 4 classes to choose from in Blue Protocol. You have the Aegis Fighter, which fights with a sword and shield, and serves as the general tank role. The Twin Striker fights with dual axes and is your melee DPS. The Blast Archer is kind of a supporter class that can debuff enemies, buff party members, and even provide some pinch healing. And lastly is the Spellcaster, which is like your long distance DPS class. If you ever feel like a change, you are able to switch to a different class without having to make an entirely new character. Fairly early into the game, you'll unlock the ability to switch classes, and the only thing you'll need is the weapon used by that class in your inventory when you go to talk to a certain NPC. As expected, class progression is completely separate, so changing classes means going back down to level 1, and you will have to unlock an entirely new set of skills, but anything that can be equipped, like Imagines, will work across classes. Imagines can be crafted at an NPC and come in 2 different flavors. You have Battle Imagines that you can equip and use like skills, and Inner Imagines work like passive buffs to your character, and are also required to level up your adventure rank. After crafting these, you can also upgrade your Imagines for further stat boosts. You can kind of think of your adventure rank as your overall character level, and story progression is gated behind adventure rank requirements. Once you get your rank up to the appropriate level, you will be able to move on with the main story, but you'll also unlock a bunch of other content like additional side quests. After you've crafted the required inner imagines, you can just rank up your character from your character menu. Combat in Blue Protocol is honestly pretty fun. If you've been looking for something a little more action-based, Blue Protocol could scratch that itch for you. You have two main class skills on your left and right click, and as you level up, you'll get additional skills mapped to Q, E, R, and C. Each skill has one variant that you can unlock when you hit the level requirement, and can then be upgraded separately. Each class also has an ultimate skill that is mapped to Tab by default. Like your imagines, weapons are crafted from materials that you pick up from gathering or mob drops, and other than money and the materials themselves, don't really have any other requirements for crafting. After crafting a weapon, you can upgrade it to improve its stats, but it can't be upgraded higher than your current class level. If the weapon has untapped potential, make sure to come back after leveling up to improve your weapon even further. At a certain point, you will get a mount that you can use outside of towns. Mounts in Blue Protocol actually do go pretty fast, and that certainly helps when you're trying to get somewhere quickly. Unlike other games, mounts have a finite amount of energy, and once you run out, you have to go back to town to replenish your mount energy. If you run out, you can't ride your mount anymore, and you will have to hoof it. Now, I don't know if this is only for the first mount that you get, or if this applies to all the mounts in the game, but energy actually runs out pretty quickly. Even if you stop moving, energy still continues to deplete. Considering the field areas are actually fairly large, this means you won't be spending all that much time on your mount. There are only a few dungeons in the beta, but none of them are particularly long and can absolutely be soloed. We'll have to see whether or not dungeons eventually get more complicated and more difficult when the game actually launches, but as for dungeon design, they're more or less a straight line, with a handful of mobs to take out until you get to the dungeon boss. Boss fights honestly don't last all that long, and the fight mechanics basically boil down to just dodging enemy attacks when you see AoE markers or wind-up tells, and then just attacking when the boss is vulnerable. As you progress through the main story, you will get another type of currency called glory coins, and as far as I can tell, glory coins are only used for purchasing cosmetic items to change the look of your character, or to purchase a skill reset if you want to respec. Taking a look at what's available right now, it's no surprise that some of the better looking outfits cost the most amount of coins. I'm not sure if the prices are set to just what they are because of the beta, or if they'll change when the game officially launches, but it certainly seems like glory coins may be a way for the game to monetize when it launches publicly. So all in all, I am enjoying my time with Blue Protocol. Admittedly, I don't have a lot of MMO experience, but so far it's been pretty fun, and the game systems are pretty easy to grasp. The visuals are absolutely stunning, and it really helps to keep you interested in the world. One of the most important things to the livelihood of an MMO is endgame content, and obviously we won't be able to see that in the beta. But as long as the story can stay interesting and the world continues to impress, I feel like most players would at least be able to finish the main storyline, as long as it doesn't get too grindy. I didn't have too many issues with the beta, only a couple instances when I was in combat and the game thought I was holding down the mouse button when I actually wasn't, and times when my character would get stuck if I tried to move too quickly after changing areas, but those are honestly extremely minor complaints. MMO veterans might have some issues with the limited character creator, the dungeon and boss designs, and I would like to see a tweak to mount energy, but there's a lot to enjoy in Blue Protocol, and I'll be checking out the game when it launches. Anyways, that will do it for now, so I hope you enjoyed this super quick first impressions video, and you can also feel free to subscribe if you want to see more Japanese gaming content. You can also follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Come hang out and chat while we play a bunch of video games that may not necessarily be JRPGs either. It'll be fun. Right now I stream Tuesday and Thursday 9 PM JST, so I hope to see you there. Links will be down in the description. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys again. Take care.